trophy at Alabama.
The Bear would be proud.
It was also the night that produced one of the greatest what-ifs in the history of college football. What if Colt McCoy hadn't gotten hurt?
I lived in Dallas for a couple years, but got that question a lot. Felt like it was probably time to relocate.
Since that night in Pasadena, Texas has not come close to returning to the big stage and is on their fourth head coach in 10 years. Meanwhile, Saban has been around so long, there's a statue of him outside his office. And his teams have added 5 more national titles to the trophy case in Tuscaloosa. The same statue and trophy case the Horns will have to walk past as they file into Bryant-Denny Stadium this weekend. Still stinging from another, much more recent what if. 1 year ago, Bama's first trip to Austin in a century, Texas had a 2-point lead, earned with less than 90 seconds to go, before Bryce Young went full Heisman #1 pick and set up a soul crusher of an RTRFG.
Alabama comes back and they defeat Texas. What a game.
Next year, Texas and Bama will be conference mates, both in the SEC. So one day we'll get used to seeing this rarest of showdowns on the regular. But if these two Titans have taught us anything, no matter how often Crimson clashes with Burnt Orange, there will never be anything regular about it.
It's just a different type of feeling.
This is college football as good as it gets. Wow! What an unbelievable play. Unreal! Heisman!
Week 2 of the kickoff, presented by Ram Trucks.
They let us back.
That is Gary Striewski. I am Matt Barrie. Together we make the college football supergroup, Barrie and Gary.
That's good. Rolls right off the tongue.
We're gonna be. It really does. If you want to make a T-shirt and send it to us, we'll take it. We cannot wait to get started in week 2. How was your week 1, by the way?
The week 1 was fantissimo. Loved everything about it. I watched every single snap of a particular game with a particular prime time associated.
Yeah.
But I think it was fantastic. I think week 1 delivered to us every single thing that we wanted. A little bit of upset, ton of offense, a little preemptive Heisman talk, and a couple surprises.
A couple of surprises. LSU getting beat the way they did. That was a surprise. We'll have more on that. Duke doing what they did to Clemson on Monday night. A bit of a surprise.
The surprise.
We'll also address the clothing in the room.
Yes.
Again, I have to do television.
Yes. And I have to ask you if you want to hear the specials tonight. Or do you have a car you want me to park?
Sir, can you please park the Benz?
Right,
week 2 notable games to look at. Look, if week 1, if we're being honest, there was a couple of good matchups, pretty lackluster overall. Here's some of the notable week 2 games. We will get to Nebraska and Colorado in a moment, but give me something on this slate, Gary, you're looking forward to.
I love your spicy take, too, about what's potentially going down at Folsom.
Yeah.
But give me top left, man. I love Notre Dame at NC State right now. Of course, Notre Dame, 2-0 this season, have yet to allow an offensive touchdown to any opponents. I know it's Tennessee State, and I know it's Navy across the pond in Dublin, but as heralded as this offense and Sam Hartman has been for the Golden Domers so far early in the season, 1 field goal game 1, another field goal game 2. Now they're actually having to go on the road against a Wolfpack team that's pretty darn good. Sam Hartman, of course, holding things down for Notre Dame. And these are some bizarre stats, but Notre Dame hasn't lost to an ACC team in 28 games.
Well, the COVID year, remember they joined the conference and they went to the conference championship and won it. I like titling things. I like titling each week.
Yes.
I think this is a get-to-know-you week.
Okay, yes.
Because we don't know a lot about Notre Dame. NC State, they got out of week 1. They were up here in Storrs, Connecticut. Got out of Connecticut alive with a win.
Against the fighting Dan Orlovskis. They barely got out.
It's kind of a get-to-know. So let's get to know Notre Dame. Let's get to know NC State.
Let me put this then on your radar as well, because, of course, the CFP certainly can't be won in September, but I'm a firm believer that it can be lost with a team that has CFP aspirations. They're 2-0. Let's just say, for example, they stumble out of the gates and take a blemish to NC State. Next week, they got Central Michigan. The week after that, they have Ohio State. So you get 2 losses before October, and see you later CFP, which is, that, of course, is the bar for a Notre Dame team every year.
Notre Dame loses this week, they're out of the CFP.
See, I'd give them one loss.
No,
but their schedule's very soft.
No conference championship. They almost got to play perfect to get to the CFP. One of the other games on the radar I'm looking at this week, kind of a get-to-know-me game with Texas A&M and Miami, and I'll tell you why. Week 1 with Jimbo Fisher, Bobby Petrino, Connor Wegman. They look good. They finally beat an inferior opponent the way that they should. Miami, they won the Battle of Miami, and they look good in Mario Cristobal's debut in the second season. So here's why this one is big for a couple of reasons. One, Texas A&M under Jimbo Fisher has stockpiled as much talent as any team in the country. 4 and 5 stars all over that roster. They have underperformed expectations. Go on the road against a team in Miami who Mario Cristobal has done a nice job there, looking for a statement win in year 2. You go on the road and beat them. Now you got a little momentum to be one of the bigger sleepers in the country. Texas A&M, Miami. Watch out for that one. And Cristobal needs that statement win.
And it's quite a contrast from last season. You mentioned the 4 and 5 stars. Texas A&M had one of the most disappointing seasons ahead of what we anticipated them to be last year. So this has to absolutely be not just a bounce-back game, bounce-back year.
And this game last year was not a Picasso like our hair. It was absolutely horrific.
I'm going a little salt and pepper these days. More pepper, though,
hey,
which is good.
Little pepper on something. Don't be like your SportsCenter co-anchor who's like young and has colored his hair since he was 25. I know this to be true.
His name rhymes with Candy Dot.
And he might have the same last name as Travis Scott, who, by the way, Travis Hunter, Colorado, went sicko mode last week. I believe.
Come on. That's a segue.
Don't quote me on the math, but I believe it was somewhere around 110 plays.
Just ridiculous.
He went both ways in Colorado's 45-42 win against TCU. If you haven't heard about it, get on social media. Deion will tell you all about it. What do you think? First of all, what did you think overall?
It was awesome. It was electric. It reminded me of a dumbed-down version. God, you guys are going to kill me for this, but the World Cup game that we saw between Argentina and France. It was offense, exchanging blows. Superstars coming into their own in Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. I loved it. 45-42. Did you expect that out of CU?
What about 45-42 says soccer?
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just saying the exchanging of offense. It was just boom France, boom Argentina, boom CU, boom TCU. That was the whole game.
Yes, and that is not soccer.
Come on, man. I'm talking about the electricity, the energy
soccer
that was.
Celebrates 0-0 as a beautiful game of
this
art.
World Cup was different.
This was art by Travis Hunter. I believe right now, other than Caleb Williams,
yes,
I would put Travis Hunter at the top of the Heisman Trophy ballot after week 1. Now, we always give out a September Heisman at the top, just based on what he showed.
Yep.
I don't think it's sustainable. You can't play 110 games through a Power 5 schedule. It's just not sustainable.
Uh-huh.
I believe that he needs to be used on both sides of the ball. He was the number 1 recruit for a reason.
Yep.
I think he's got a better trajectory in the NFL at corner.
Sure.
And who better to learn from than his head coach and Coach Prime,
guy who
knows how to go both ways. I find him right now one of the more fascinating players in college football.
I like how you said not sustainable, but also I think we're in sort of lockstep too. It's just not smart to tax your best player on both sides of the ball that much, that early, that often.
Right.
I mean, Shedeur, 500 yards, school record in passing, but a lot of that was to Hunter. A lot of it was, to Edwards, but Hunter is the best player on the field when he's on the field.
No question. And Shedeur shut up a lot of people that wondered if FCS would translate to FBS. I got a little Matt Stat trivia for you.
I love the Matt Stat.
510 yards.
Yes.
Is it Colorado's 5 touchdowns, by the way, 4 receivers over 100 yards. Whose school record did Shedeur Sanders break in the season opener against TCU?
Yards or touchdowns?
Yards, the 510 yards.
Gosh, did Flash put him up that way?
Cordell?
Their championship year?
Cordell would be a great obvious answer. The answer to this trivia question.
Coy Detmer.
Is
it Coy Detmer? Is it one of the Detmers? Listen, growing up in Colorado, man, in the 90s, it was Detmer, man. The Detmer bros, they were it.
By the way, there may or may not be more trivia.
How many yards
on the show
did he go for? Do you recall?
He was in a 480-ish.
Oh, that's
high
nice.
fours.
Hey, you got to let it fly in Boulder.
That's it. I mean, low air.
Speaking of that, though, at Folsom, they repainted the stadium. It's rejuvenated, but you're calling upset.
I'm not fully calling upset.
You fully called upset before we went on there. So stand by your convictions. Stand by your convictions.
Things that I say off air aren't necessarily approved to say on air.
They're said in confidence with confidence. I apologize.
All I said was this. You have a tale of two teams coming into this one. Now listen, hear me out.
Okay.
Nebraska fans couldn't wait for the Matt Rule era.
Okay.
Scott Frost, they couldn't win games at the end under Scott
Yes.
Frost. What did Nebraska do in week 1 against Minnesota? Had that game wrapped up with 2-something minutes left, only to literally fumble it away.
Yes.
There isn't a team that's more down on themselves right now than Nebraska, with a really damn good head football coach.
Okay.
There isn't a team more full of themselves right now than Colorado.
Full of themselves or just understanding themselves?
Full of themselves.
Believing in themselves.
Well, there's the
Sound
belief.
like
There's the
All
belief
right.
component.
God,
But so you've got a collision of mindsets coming in. We're the best in the country versus we let one get away.
Give me the former.
Okay.
Give me the dudes that are riding high right now saying nobody can stop us.
You'll promise me, though, when we sit in front of our fire next week in our tailgating atmosphere here in our studio,
That CU will be 2-0.
you promise me that you will not act surprised when Nebraska wins this one, if they win this one.
Not going to be surprised because it's not going to happen. Acho!
Time now for Built by Success, presented by Ram Trucks. And oh boy, what a doozy. We've got brewing in Tuscaloosa. Number 11, Texas. Number 3, Alabama, set for a showdown that highlights week 2. Both teams built for the moment as the two enter. This one ranked 2nd and 5th all time in victories. Texas will get an early look at SEC hospitality as Alabama looks to unleash Jalen Milroe. The winner here stands firmly in the national title race early in the season. Without further ado, we welcome in Sacho.
You stand right here, man.
I just want to get warm. I want to stay warm.
Good,
man.
and I'm just going to kind
Style.
of.
You got the swag.
I'm going to play the edges. I'm going to play the edges.
How are you?
I'm doing great, Matt Barrie.
How do you feel right now? Look, he's a
I
Texas
feel warm.
Longhorn legend.
I feel warm.
Yes.
He's inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So this is if not now, when for Sark. That's basically what this amounts to on Saturday.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the whole thing coming in defensive perspective against a guy like Jalen Milroe? Nick Saban's never had something like that before.
Well, I feel it will be an interesting matchup because Jalen Milroe, as you mentioned, is different than any other quarterback that Nick Saban has had. He's an athlete. He's a freak of nature. He can do it all.
He's built like you.
He's bigger than me.
Yeah.
Bigger, faster, stronger. All the things that you would hope for in an athlete, that's what he is. And so that's my concern if you're Texas' defense. You got some big boys on the inside, but Jalen Milroe, 3 passing touchdowns last week, 2 rushing touchdowns. It didn't matter what happened. This is like a botched play. Like we saw from Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams picked it up and threw it. Jalen Milroe picked it up and ran it for a touchdown. Then later on in the game, right, another almost broken play, Jalen Milroe does the rest. You have angles. I remember playing RG3 in college. I thought I had an angle on him. My angle was literally erased. Like, that's what I saw on film. But then if you don't get to him in as a runner, look at him standing in the pocket. If he has time to throw, that was a touchdown pass, about a 40-yard bomb.
And he flicks it.
He's a problem.
6'2", 240. Just
He's a problem.
Yoked.
He's a problem. So I think what Texas needs to do is try to win their one-on-ones. There's some one-on-one matchup when it comes to linebacker and running back as far as like pass protection. If you win that, you have a chance. There are one-on-one matchups with the offensive line. Alabama has a huge offensive line, but they don't really move so well laterally. So if you can have speed on the edge, inside, outside, you have a chance. But if not, if Milroe has time, it's going to be a problem.
When I say on our call today, this I will share with the internet verse.
Yes.
I said that I believe at the end of Saturday, Sunday morning, we're on college football final, Jalen Milroe will be the most talked about player in college
correct.
football.
But you didn't preface and you didn't hit us with detail if that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? If that's going to be a good thing
Let
or
the
a bad
detail
thing.
play
I think it might be Travis Hunter. It might be Shedeur Sanders on that one. It might be.
Here we go.
I'm rocking with Gary. I'm rocking with Gary on that one, man.
appreciate
You know what I'm
that.
saying? Like they believe in themselves.
Look at this guy though.
Yeah, it was
bro.
a flick of a wrist. And you can say, oh, it's Middle Tennessee State.
just
No, it didn't
spinning the
matter.
bean, dude.
You give him time, it's a problem. You give him space, it's a problem. You give him the ball in his hand, it's a problem. He stood in the pocket, stood tall. He felt that. That was from the 50-yard line. Flex on him. So that's the issue if you're Texas with Jalen Milroe. He's so big, fast, strong, and he can throw that thing.
He's such a throwback, too. Nothing on the arm.
Yes.
No
Short
spat.
socks. This dude.
Those guys are dangerous.
With the running back.
Hey, them dudes is dangerous.
Come
Right? Get all
on,
the
man.
pretty boy, like the gloves, the
That's
wristband.
what I'm saying.
Just give me a helmet and let's go.
Bro, I don't want that guy.
Let's strap it up. Flip side of that, another problematic quarterback. And listen, Texas should be riding high with some confidence. They barely lost to Bama last year. Quinn Ewers, sprained clavicle. It's a body part that we've never hurt because we've never had to use. But how confident are you with his expectations? He is firmly the guy. And if he stays healthy last year in that game, September 10th, who knows what was going to happen.
Well, the first quarter, he had 134 passing yards, 9 for 12. That's all in the first quarter before he got injured. And even when he got hurt, the backup, Hudson Card, comes in and still leads them on some touchdown drives.
So, look at this guy. What a legend.
He's a legend, right? And
I can't believe he cut it.
He had to, man. They were getting on him, right? He's like, you know what, let me look more professional, what have you.
It's Texas.
But it's Xavier Worthy on the outside. It's Adonai Mitchell, who transferred from Georgia, number 5. AD Mitchell, he said he wanted to be called Adonai, not AD anymore. Give me my government name. That's what he wants. He said his government name. If you see him, you're going to be probably 6'5". You don't want those issues, right? And then you got Jatavion Sanders, a tight end, another like 6'6" freak specimen. So get those dudes the ball in space. There's no longer Roshan Johnson, no longer Bijan Robinson. I don't need you to run the ball if you're Texas. I need you to get the ball to your receivers out in the air.
You guys want some Matt story time real quick? Some quarterback story time for you. There's only been in modern day college football era, there's been 2 perfect quarterback ratings in the modern college football era.
Okay.
Vince Young was one.
Okay.
Quinn Ewers was the other.
When was he?
Both of them go to Texas now. Quinn Ewers had a perfect rating coming out of high school at a South Lake Carroll. Another quarterback story for you.
Jalen Milroe.
Drake May, when he originally committed to Alabama, Alabama gave up on Jalen Milroe, who was originally committed to Texas. Drake May decommits from Alabama, goes to North Carolina. Saban's like, guess who we need back?
We need Milroe.
Jalen Milroe.
Baby, I didn't mean it.
Jalen Milroe.
Baby, I didn't mean
could very well be on the other side of this thing, if not for one of those perfect quarterback ratings in Quinn Ewers. Okay, story time with Matt over. Pick time down.
I like story time.
I know, it is
I like
fun.
story time, too. I learned a lot.
Who is under more pressure in this one? Because the Texas defense, they're not talked about a lot. The Alabama offense is. Conversely, there's a lot of starters back from the Texas offense and Alabama defense where they've made their hay in Nick Saban's tenure. What do you got there?
Yeah, Texas is under more pressure just from a schematic standpoint. A lot of people say that they should have won this game last year, but you didn't. At the end of the day, Bryce Young did what he needed to do, went on a game-winning field goal. And so Texas defensively, Gary Patterson, your special advisor to the head coach, is not there anymore. How will you look defensively? Offensively, you've looked good, but what will happen? You're not playing Bryce Young, right? I don't care. I mean, Jalen Milroe, you played great, but it ain't Bryce Young.
Who needs it more?
And which team or which?
No,
Texas needs it more.
Okay.
Absolutely, because they're going to the SEC.
Just because.
Just because. They're going to the SEC. They almost had it last year. Alabama has been Alabama. Texas has not been Texas for a while. So who needs it more? The team that hadn't been what they're supposed to be. That's Texas. They've been real.
Good teams win, great teams cover. Who wins?
Texas is a good team. So, the transitive property, Texas wins.
Good team.
Texas
on the road wins, covers. Boom.
I don't know about cover. I don't know about those.
I think it's 7.5 right now. 7.5.
Right.
I could either see this thing coming out of the wire and Texas winning or an Alabama blowout. I think it's
Alabama blowout.
It's 1 of 2.
Wow.
1 of 2. Alabama blowout or Texas narrowly escapes.
What blowout? What happened?
Just let it rest. By the way,
let it define itself, like the Jalen Milroe thing.
By the way, I'm not in like with this. I'm in love with this.
I'm not biased. I ain't biased.
Can we zoom in on this real quick?
Put that thing away, man.
Come on.
I ain't biased.
Come on.
They're zooming in. Give them one more look.
Give them some love, man. Give them some love, right?
Good.
And if we lose, it's going to be a problem.
That is a perfect way to get the conference call.
A shortened week might be just what the doctor ordered for the Tigers as Clemson is looking to bounce back from Monday night's loss to Duke. And when the Tigers make their walk into Memorial Stadium, they'll be going for their 20th straight home opening win. Talking with Coach Sweeney, he said the message to his players this week, we've got to make the routine plays and finish as they get set to host Charleston Southern. Under Sweeney, the Tigers are 31-8 when following a loss.
Mike Norvell says it's human nature to want to rest after the type of statement win his program had versus LSU on Sunday. But Norvell says this is not an arrived Florida State team, and I wouldn't want us to be yet. The 4th-ranked Noles, though, will have 2 priorities in their home opener against Southern Miss. One, on offense, start faster and start more calm in order to execute quicker. 2, on defense, better tackling. That really comes down to leaving your feet more forcefully to bring the ball down on point of contact contact every time. Those fine-tuned details will be the difference in the Noles as they pursue another win this weekend.
Welcome to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where the Crimson Tide are welcoming the Texas Longhorns to town on Saturday. It'll be a good matchup. A lot of questions surrounding both these teams. What are you looking forward to?
I just think this is the matchup we've been waiting for all offseason, right?
Yeah.
This game right here for Alabama, to me, Jalen Milroe is going to be the centerpiece of this game. A lot of people have had question marks at that quarterback position for Alabama. He showed last week what he's capable of. It's going to be different against Texas with a ton of pro talent on their roster. And this game is huge for Texas. If Texas wins this game, I know we've been joking on the college football internet for about 7 years now about, Texas being back, this, that, and the third. If they win tomorrow, Texas is actually back. So I'm excited for this one. It's going to be an interesting result either way. I think no matter what, it's going to be a good game.
And Nick Saban is 28-2 against his former assistant, so we'll see if Sark is able to do it.
Those two assistant wins, Kirby Smart, who seems to have everyone's number right now
good.
in college football. Hey, personally, I think the better half of Marty and McGee is joining us now. Oh, Ryan McGee,
I couldn't agree more.
Hey, Ryan
Yes.
McGee.
Only because Marty might be out of earshot.
No, I'm all in on McGee. This is America's Ryan McGee talking some college ball with us. Just about every show in the company is in Tuscaloosa. And McGee, I want to start with this one away from the game that you're at. I want to start with LSU on Monday night, or Sunday night rather, with how they got thumped against Florida State. In your best Ryan McGee way, how would you describe that beatdown in week 1 for Brian Kelly?
They're purple. They're purple in all the wrong ways. Purple and black, right? They got beat up. Now, but honestly, this is the team I expected to see last year. And Brian Kelly, I remember when he got Notre Dame to the BCS championship game way ahead of schedule, and he even said then, listen, this is great. We're not going to say no to it, but we still have so much work to do. And so that team last year that made it to the SEC championship game and shocked the world and all that, this is the team last weekend that I thought we were going to see all of last year. So they still have some work to do. They also had a couple key pieces missing last weekend that are back this weekend. So, yeah, they're not purple and gold. They're purple and blue right now.
Another team that might be as such, and you mentioned shock the world. A shocking loss maybe to some for Clemson. Turned the ball over a lot. Couldn't seal the deal when they got into Duke's red zone. The question, I think, was written as, you have to bet Marty Smith's entire Air Jordan collection to say that Clemson has a shot at this year's CFP. You take that bet?
You know, Marty built a really nice house up at Lake Normal where all the rich race car drivers live. He built that a few years ago. He has an entire closet built just for his Jordans. And so, yeah, I'm going to bet those any way I can just because I want to see how he deals with it, emotionally. But, no, listen, I think Clemson's in trouble. I think we're seeing Dabo Swinney has really not embraced the modern way to recruit for college football. He's been very defiant about that. He kept his staff together forever. That staff started coming apart a little bit within the last couple of years, and now I think you're starting to see, that's what, listen, Duke's great, but I grew up in the triangle. You don't lose to Duke if you're Clemson, not in my lifetime. And so, yeah, I think right now they have a lot more work to do. The good news for Clemson is everyone else in South Carolina lost last weekend, too.
Yeah,
that's true.
Literally.
And by the way, did you hear the story about Marty building a house in a lake and a closet big enough for shoes? Glad to know those contracts are out there.
Yeah.
That's good. McGee,
one day maybe.
Yeah.
And McGee. Yeah, if you come after the you don't get one of those contracts.
Yeah, when you follow the ampersand, you're done. All right, Ohio State, Kyle McCord, they've got all the talent in the world at the skilled positions. Should the Buckeyes be a little worried after what we saw week 1 against Indiana?
No, they're fine. They're fine. It's week 1 overreaction. Indiana's not bad. Indiana's going to go to a bowl game. Several Ohio State players have said that. This is a good football team. This is a stingy defense. And you're also, by the way, everybody in Ohio State is spoiled, right? We've had all these first-round draft picks at quarterback for so long. So many they've transferred to other places and still been first-round draft picks. So they're going to be fine. As long as Marvin Harrison Jr. and those guys are out there catching balls, I like your chances. So it's fine. It's week 1. It's tough to start with a conference game, and it was tough for them.
McGee, you're going to get you out on this one. Texas, Bama, ESPN Analytics giving Bama an 81% chance of winning that game. Though, as we know, games aren't played on stat sheets. Who wins and why? What does Texas have to do to pull off an upset?
Well, I think Alabama's going to win the game.
Okay.
They don't have Jalen Hurts. I heard you guys say that. I also heard you guys say earlier, no one's talking about Texas' defense. Nick Saban is. Nick Saban is a DB at heart. He was a DB in college at Kent State. He was a defensive backs coach his whole career. You go to an Alabama practice, who's he yelling at all the time? The defensive backs. And he is obsessed with Texas defense. Remember the Texas versus LSU DBU thing a few years ago? Right now, Texas is loaded in that secondary. And when you're trying to get a quarterback broken in Milroe and really his first gigantic football game, that's a challenge. That secondary had a couple of interceptions really early last week. If they do that tomorrow night, then, yeah, Texas has a chance. But I think ultimately Alabama's just too deep.
It is going to be so loud there in Tuscaloosa.
Oh.
He is the host of McGee and Marty. Ryan McGee.
See, that's why I love Matt Barrie. Right
Get
there,
to the
right
negotiating table now.
Love you, buddy.
That's
Thanks for
it.
joining us.
Thanks, McGee. It's going to be a fight at Dixieland Delight, and tomorrow we got you covered from sunrise to sunset. It's countdown to game day. You already saw it, Harry Lies. You can surf on those waves. Christine Williamson, get you started 8:30 to 9 in the morning. Then it's the college football show recapping everything that was up until that point. And then my dude Scooby, they're using the big studio, the big one, the one we just put all kind of money in. 11 to 11:30 p.m. tomorrow. We got you covered. Sun up to sundown.
Gary and I have a hard time letting go. And in this situation, we're having a hard time of letting go of week one. We've moved on to week two, but we have to go back to week one for a couple of reasons. Because I was told a couple of players, a couple of coaches actually sent in some questions for us from them.
Viewers of the show, of course.
Friends of the program.
Yeah.
And we're going to start with Dabo Sweeney, who's got a question for you, actually. Yeah.
Hey, Coach.
Gary.
Oh.
Dabo Sweeney here.
Okay.
That loss to Duke was an out-of-body experience for me. Just indescribable.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and try and describe it for me?
I'm going to do just that, but Barrie, first and foremost, it's like Coach is right here in the room with us.
I can actually smell his cologne.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice.
Yeah. Dracar Noir.
60% of the time. No, you know what? The way I can describe it, Barrie, maybe you chime in if you lived this experience as well. It's the first time trying dip. All right, and let me paint the picture. Yeah, let me get a quick lipper. Not condoning that if you're not of age. But his old Clemson team, man, they made it look cool. They made it look easy. They made it look natural. They made it look like it's something that everybody could be, should be, would be doing, and it would come easy to them. I'm talking about getting into the red zone, getting in the opponent's territory on the field.
And just letting the lip stay in.
And once you get there, let me just spit it into the end zone.
Right.
This iteration of the Clemson offense packed the lip and puked. All right, they made it into the red zone a handful of times. They made it into Duke's territory. Couldn't get anything on the board. All right? First time trying dip for me was the last time trying dip for me.
Run
my brains out.
So, Dabo, it's like your team was like tobacco.
You puke my brains out. Tobacco Road.
Who's up next?
Hey, Matt. Jim Harbaugh here.
Oh.
I heard what you said about me on your YouTube show.
Oh.
Can we roll the sound for a refresher?
The absolute embarrassment that's Michigan acting like Jim Harbaugh died. Can we stop with the moment of the I formations, the fours up in the air? Look, 3-game suspension for allegedly fibbing to the NCAA. Let's quit acting like the guy's in a hospital waiting to break out and coach.
Did you see the hashtag Free Harbaugh trending on Twitter or X, whatever you kids call it now? I feel like it's a no-brainer that we're headed back to the CFP, baby. Who's going to stop us? Ohio State?
Jimmy, settle down.
Coach hitting the work.
Settle down. He came with an attitude about it, right? Like you can't come at me with an attitude. But let's stop acting like Harbaugh's on his deathbed.
Yeah. What do you think?
He's suspended for the first 3 games. Relax.
Self-imposed, by the way.
Right.
Can I just interrupt real quick?
And by the way, they're probably going back to the playoff. Yeah, please.
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't catch much of what you said or what he said because I was too busy trying to count how many of the
statues.
How many of the Emmy Watsons you had back there.
I mean, would you like one for a bookend?
I would love that.
I would love
What's the total count on the?
Maybe 11. I don't know.
Wow.
Who's next?
Wow. Double candlesticks.
Gary, what's up?
Hey.
Riley Leonard
my
here.
guy.
You're like every college kid's favorite Sports Center anchor. Help me out on this one, bro. Don't I get a pass for handing in my paper late after upsetting Clemson last week?
Riley, my man, appreciate that. Sports Center Snapchat for life. Here's the thing. In the immortal words of Cardell Jones in 2012, we ain't come here to play school. Unless your school is Duke. Or maybe if that left breast said Stanford, or you pointed out USC as well, or any of the Ivy Leagues, New Jersey, Princeton, any of those teams. So I would say that there are exceptions to the rule, and oftentimes D1 athletes, especially quarterbacks, are the exception. Except at institutions of higher learning like Duke. Sorry, Riley, turn in the paper.
And next time, have the offensive linemen do it for you.
Because they already planned ahead and did it.
True. Next.
Hey, Matt. Caleb Williams here.
My man.
I'm completely focused on Stanford this week, but I'm hearing a lot of noise about whether or not this will actually be my last year in school. Am I justified in wanting to stay in school another year if it means not getting drafted by a bad organization?
All right.
Cardinals.
All right, so let me.
His dad made a good point.
Fight on. Let me get into this real quick. Remember when Matt Leinart was the best thing in college football, those USC teams? He would have been the number 1 overall pick that year, decided to stay because why not stay at USC? Sure. You're in LA, you're a superstar. Then he got drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. Got hurt, had some issues. Here's what I'll say to Caleb, because the Cardinals are probably going to have the number 1 overall pick. Dude, you get to live in Scottsdale. You get to live right near California, Vegas, and all of them in between. Go to the Cardinals with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Quick point of clarity, where did you go to school?
I was born and raised in Scottsdale.
No bias.
And I went to Arizona State.
No bias.
Look, I get
do we have one more?
Quality of life. No, we don't have any more.
Okay, my bad.
Players, coaches, do that whenever you want to hop in and be a voice of the program. We'll try to answer your questions. But if you've been around the show for a week, or if you've been around SportsCenter for a week,
come on.
You know Barrie versus Gary is a real thing.
Yeah, it's picking up steam.
Your long shots champion. You have beef with me? Parachuting into your little show and playing your little game to make the right picks?
Gary, that was adorable.
Two-time undisputed long shots champion, Matt Barrie.
Not for nothing. We look pretty cool.
Long shots champion.
We look kind of cool. By a 1/10 of a point, I'll be back.
So we're carrying the competition over here to the kickoff presented by Ram Trucks. We're doing trivia. Barrie versus Gary, a trivia question number 1. By the way, I've always wanted to be a game show host, so this is right up my alley.
This is awesome. There is an opening.
Question 1. When was the last time Alabama lost at home to a Big 12 team?
Baylor, 1996.
Baylor, 1996. I am going...
It's an Oklahoma team. I messed up.
Texas, 1902. Answer is... Oklahoma, 2003.
Jason White, 2003. I think that's a Jason White-led Oklahoma team.
Covered Oklahoma when Jason White won the Heisman. I don't remember that one. Question 2. Last time Colorado finished above 500 was 2016. Where were they in the final CFP rankings that year?
22. And that's being generous.
2016. I'm going to say 15th.
Laviska Shenault was catching touchdowns.
10.
Ooh, wow.
We are over.
Okay.
So there's no competition yet.
Face of the college football programming here at ESPN.
Ohio State, Notre Dame play week 4. When was the last time Notre Dame beat Ohio State?
Oh, my gosh. That was definitely 2012.
I'm going to go Rose Bowl year 1995.
1936? Golly!
Seriously, were they wearing leather helmets back then?
We're talking about Notre Dame being a CFP team?
What college football wizard came up with these?
They haven't beat them since the Great Depression.
Who was the most recent Heisman Trophy winner from Texas? We've got this one.
Okay.
Go ahead. You want to go? We're both going to get it. You first.
It's a push. Vince Young.
No, wrong. Ricky Williams. I win. 1-0, Maddie.
Wait, the most recent.
Yeah,
that was Matt Leinart. That was Reggie.
That's a dolly. Here we go. Last
I was thinking about the Rose Bowl.
1-0, Barrie over Gary. Last one. 2 schools are tied at 14 for producing the most Pro Football Hall of Famers.
Oh, my gosh.
Which are they? Alabama, Ohio State, Miami, Michigan, USC, Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, Tennessee.
Gosh, I want to say Miami, Michigan so bad, but I don't think that's correct. USC, Notre Dame.
Well, we didn't get to pick.
Well, I was going to pick USC.
Oh, were you?
I mean, that's what.
So,
I'm so
for this
upset
week,
about the Vince Young.
For this week, it's 1-0 and 0-1.
Oh, that hurts.
And they get one for preemptively giving us
staff pick.
Right, staff pick.
It's a staff pick.
It's USC.
It's a staff pick.
That was week 2. Enjoy the football. We'll be back next week. And as always, I am the leader in this clubhouse.
I'm sick to my stomach.
For Gary, I'm Barrie. Thanks for watching the Kickoff, presented by Ram Trucks.
Don't call it a comeback next week. sick to my stomach. We just got done talking about Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, Vince Young. I was thinking about the Rose Bowl. I blew it.